Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. So before I go to sleep today, I'm just going to do a quick velocity banking review. And somebody put in the comments that 10K in income is pretty unrealistic. And so I was just looking at my last TLOC and I was thinking, you know what? You're right. It's more like 27K. No, I'm just kidding. The average, I think, household income is about maybe like 5 to 6K if you combine two people working together. But I always like to use sometimes extreme examples just to kind of demonstrate my point when doing these velocity banking demonstrations. And we have to understand that velocity banking is not an income generation strategy. It is a debt and cash flow management strategy. So if you have lots of debt, you're usually going to have lots of income because of the debt to income ratios that banks and lenders usually enforce, right? And a lot of times what happens is that people who don't have a lot of income look at the strategy as like, this makes me angry. Because here's the thing, like if you're a minimum wage worker and you only have like a $500 credit card, I don't think velocity banking is going to help you that much, although it might help you, right? It's just when you get to higher and higher levels and you're kind of like a lottery winner, like, you got to be worthy of being able to handle that money, kind of like, King Arthur and Excalibur. If the Excalibur goes to anybody else's hands, it's going to be like, it's not going to work. You know what I'm saying? So we have to train ourselves on to be able to handle our cash flow and manage our debt as we make more income, right? So today we're going to go over a zero cash flow situation. I always love to use the 10 credit card situation. So you have 10 credit cards. This equals up to $167,000 of debt. And what we did is we magically made this person expenses the same as their income, which means zero savings, absolutely none. Like, who would freak out if they were making this much income and they had the exact same in expenses? I'd pretty much freak out, right? Like, oh my goodness, I got zero left over. But here's the thing, we got velocity banking to the rescue. And what is velocity banking? All it is a debt payoff strategy using lines of credit as your main tool. Okay? So all we got to do is two things. We got to have a budget, and our budgets are a tax plan. So make sure you write your income, expenses, your leftover savings, and then all of the debts that you have, because again, this is a debt attack plan essentially. If you have $3,000 of income and $3,000 of expenses but no debt, velocity banking is useless, right? And then we got a mortgage here, and then we have our general expenses. So this will never go away. This other food, gas, insurance, and all we got to do is just a few things. So we're gonna copy most of this, right? And let's go ahead and copy most of this too. But here's the crazy thing, right? We want to make sure that this saving stays at zero. Like, you never watch those Dave Ramsey videos where it's like, you gotta have like 3 to 6 months of savings. No, 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 no. Well, we don't have savings until we pay off our debt because our line of credit is going to be our savings, right? So our savings here, okay, so the only difference here is that this is essentially going to be where our leftover money goes in the savings account for the average American, whereas when we do velocity banking, all of our leftover money is going to go to essentially our line of credit. Okay. And so let's go ahead and calculate what we call our cash flow, which is our income minus our expenses. Okay. And um, required number two to do velocity banking is make sure we have a line of credit to be able to use as our main operating account. So luckily, we have a home equity line of credit available for us to use at $200,000. And here's the thing. Some of you might be thinking, oh my goodness, who has a line of credit available to use laying around, right? I've heard that comment before. But we have to be prepared, and this is why we have to be educated about credit, because right now I have $258,000 in lines of credit. Okay, $258,000, right? And the way I was able to get it is because I understood the quote secret to whom banks lend to, and banks lend to people who to let me say this again. Banks don't lend to people who need money, right? So if you're ever in a position of like, oh my goodness, I'm broke and I'd love to use a strategy and I need a line of credit, they ain't gonna give it to you. This is why you got to build your foundation first before you do these kind of things and engage in debt. Hopefully that makes sense. Now let's just assume we have $200,000 home equity line of credit. Think of it as almost like a credit card based on the value of your home, right? And what we're going to do is just transfer all of these credit cards into that home equity line of credit so that we can maximize our cash flow. So this savings number is still going to stay at zero, but let's go ahead and transfer this credit card debt, which is $167,000, 167,000, right? And what happens when by simply transferring our debt, this is all going to go to zero. And oh my goodness, we went from zero cash flow to $5,300. Mind blown. I need a mind blown emoji. What's the best mind blown? In fact, when I think about mind blown, I think about this right here, but this might be a little bit obscure, right? Because I used to play a lot of fighting games back in the day. Um, this one, I don't know if you've ever seen this guy named Seth Killian, where he gets his mind blown. Yeah, mind blown. Oh my goodness! But if you don't know who he is, then probably more power to you because this is more of a Street Fighter meme from 2009. Okay, so back to this. So mind blown, we went from $0 to $5,300. Now, what do we do? So, what are we doing? The power of this $5,300 if it's not going to be in savings? Again, we're going to put it into our line of credit. So the actual strategy is entire paycheck into the line of credit, expenses out, and then after every single month, the balance is going to go down about $5,300. Okay, $5,300, and we're going to go ahead and calculate the balance. So you just need to know the formulas. Again, you could try it yourself. Get the next month, and then to get the next month's balance, it's the previous month's balance plus the previous month's interest minus our cash flow, which is 5345.83, right? And then now we got to calculate the interest, which is going to be calculated by the average daily balance. Now I'm using the word calculate 20 times right now, but you use the average function right here, right? You multiply it by 10%, 0.1, which is the line of credit interest rate, and then you divide by 12. Okay, so we had to pay on month one about $1,300 of interest. Okay, but let's just keep going and going, kind of like the Energizer Bunny. So we're pounding this line of credit down. We're pounding it down, and we're in the meantime getting charged less and less interest, right? So the full power of our paycheck, and eventually this is gonna go down to zero. And in 37 months, oh my goodness, we are debt free. 37 months. So we went from zero, absolute zero, to $5,300 in one day, right? Because all by doing a simple debt transfer. So let's take a look at this right here. So this is 37 months. 37 months. Okay, 37 months to pay off $167,000 of debt. And I love doing this scenario just because I love the dramatic demonstration of going to nothing to $5,000. This is why I love doing like 10 credit cards, because you can't get more dramatic than this. In fact, I probably made like the same video over and over again, and it's fantastic. I probably need to stop being so lazy and make up some different numbers and not do 10, but I love doing 10 credit cards. And this is as a person who has about 13 or 14 credit cards. Again, I have over $258,000 lines of credit. Just trying to flex a little bit for this video. Now, after 37 months, we got to figure out what the balance of this mortgage is, right? Because we either have to either attack the mortgage or maybe do other things with our money. But if we don't attack the mortgage, we're going to have about $5,300 in our savings and just put in our savings and just pay the minimum monthly payment on the mortgage. And, anytime you see this, I think of this as the minimum monthly payment on the mortgage, $1,700. And if you ever seen a mortgage statement, let me take a look here, loan amortization calculator.net. Okay, so if you take a look at an amortization schedule, so wait, we'll say 30 years, and what percentage was that it? 6%. then you'll see how much interest is made throughout the life of the loan. So let's say you bought a house 100% financed, right? Like that means like you didn't put any down payment, $300,000. You would actually pay an interest more than the loan itself. Is that crazy? And so if you're okay with paying pretty much double your house, then yeah, let's just make the monthly payment for 30 years, right? Or we could just pay it off quickly. So one of the things we can do, option number one by default is that if we have this amount in savings, so 5345.83, we can just put this amount into the savings directly, right? Or I'm sorry, right here into the savings directly. Now, do we really want to do that? I don't know. How comfortable do you feel putting your savings directly into the mortgage? I don't think a lot of people would. If they did, most people would have their loan paid off because this is like the default option, right? Now, another thing you can do, right, is just transfer some of the principal to the line of credit, let's say about, I don't know, $10,000 or so, and then once that line of credit goes down, rinse and repeat over and over again, right? And actually, let's just check what's the balance after 37 months. So I got to record that. So 37 months, so after year three, actually, let me just check. 37 months after year three, what is the amount of interest that we paid? Oh my goodness, 17 grand, 17 grand, 17 grand. Look at the amount of interest that we pay each year compared to actually the principal, which is how much of the loan balance is actually eaten away. Oh my goodness. All right, so now let's go ahead and get that $37,000 balance. I'm not 37,000, 37 month. All right. So now, okay. So now let's do this. Um, all we gotta do is plug it in our Velocity Banking calculator. So what we're gonna do is just gonna go from 287 to 277, and then once we've done that to 267, et cetera, et cetera. This is called process of chunking. It's like you're, I guess, I don't want to say destroying. You're eliminating loan in pieces, right? That's one way we can do it as well. But either way is perfectly fine. It's just that most people in general have a really hard time of putting their savings directly into the loan. All right, so now let's go ahead and plug it into our Velocity Banking Calculator provided by Renatus, because I first learned this from Renatus, and I'm actually what they call the independent contractor marketer Renatus, meaning I make commission off of making sales and selling their products. All right, independently. All right, so let's go ahead and put in that information here. So let's do. Oh my, this is going crazy. All right, and then we'll put 300,000, and then what's the payment of the 300,000? This one right here, and I'm gonna go really quickly on this because I really want to go to sleep. And maybe listen to some Shakira. Shakira's been making music. I actually listened to it before I made this video. Man, it's pretty good, pretty solid. She looks like she hasn't aged a bit. All right, so now let's go ahead and put in this income right here. And yeah, so now let's do that. Expenses is everything except for the loan we're trying to pay off. So that would be this 2,500 right here, 2,500. Okay, and then anything else. So we're gonna move $10,000 chunks, and then we paid off in 3.8 years. Oh my goodness, look how easy that was. And so it's 37 divided by 12 plus 3.8. That would be 6.88 years. 6.88 years debt free. So that's 467K debt free. Oh my goodness. So look how easy that was. Where we went from zero cash flow, we're all freaking out. And I've seen people email me spreadsheets like this, zero cash flow, to 5,000 in one soup by doing nothing, right? So what's the actual Velocity banking strategy? Paycheck into line of credit, expenses out, rinse and repeat over and over again. A balance is always going to go down by 5,000. You maximize your cash flow. Okay, well, that's it for today. I'm going to go listen to some Shakira before I go to sleep, or maybe some Afro pop. Have a great night, everybody, and we will speak next time.